prepared to invest into Indigenous communities, to work as partners to build a better country. And I think that, in fact, I would suggest that we should probably spend more money supporting Indigenous communities rather than looking at ways to make cuts like the Conservatives have done in the past.
Now, in looking at the time, maybe what we'll do is we'll stop here and continue after. The questions will continue. The honourable member will have 3 minutes and 35 seconds coming to him after question period. Right now, we'll go to statements by members. Déclaration de député. The honourable member for Whitby.
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to rise in the House today to highlight an exceptional individual from our community in Whitby who is recently inducted into the Whitby Sports Hall of Fame. She's been a dedicated coach for ringette teams in Whitby for over 30 years. Starting in 1991, she began her ringette journey by volunteering to help coach her daughter's team. For those who don't know, ringette is a fast-paced team sport played on ice similar to hockey, but with a rubber ring and stick and lots of passing. Since 1991, this individual dedicated countless hours on and off the ice in supporting the Whitby Ringette Association and mentoring generations of ringette players, predominantly young girls in our community. When not coaching her own team, Carolyn can be found around the rinks in Whitby talking to parents, helping other coaches, and checking in with players. We know that great coaches have a profound impact on children's lives and their health and development through sport, where many young people learn countless skills and lessons, make memories, and form lasting relationships. Carolyn Mountjoy, today we salute you for your immeasurable contributions to our community and for all you've given to make Whitby Ringette what it is today. Go Whitby Wild!
The honourable member for Stormont Dundas, South Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, we have wonderful Canadians in every part of this country who work every day to make our communities an even better place to call home. That's why, like many of my colleagues, I've been pleased to present a Queen's Platinum Jubilee Medallion to outstanding local Canadians who are making a difference in the name of service. In our service clubs, in our faith communities, in arts and culture, in our local events and festivals. These leaders often work quietly behind the scenes without seeking recognition. Mr. Speaker, I want to pay tribute to one medallion recipient specifically today. My friend and Cornwall's #1 ambassador, David Murphy, who lost his battle with cancer at the age of 50 this past week. I was honored to present him last month with a well-deserved medallion, joining several other groups who recognize Murph for his service to Cornwall throughout his life. Simply put, David Murphy was a great man and a great Canadian. Mr. Speaker, I ask that my colleagues join me in recognizing all medallion recipients from my community. I want to say thank you and well done to these great Canadians.
The honourable member for Brampton North.
Mr. Speaker, cancer is a disease that affects the lives of countless individuals and their families. In Canada, 2 out of 5 are diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. Due to increasing numbers of patients, staffing shortages in healthcare, and lengthy wait times, too many people living with cancer worry that they might not get the care they need at the right time. I began to understand the gravity of the situation upon meeting a truly inspirational constituent of mine, Miss Jag Kaur Tucker, a single mother who at the young age of 37 was diagnosed with breast cancer. In Jag's recent book entitled Now's the Time for Self-Advocacy, you can read about the struggles she went through with our healthcare system. It's also important to point out that Jag is not alone. Breast cancer peaks in Black and Asian women much earlier, and these racial disparities are still not taken into account in Canada today. These women are 30 to 40% more likely to die of breast cancer simply because they fail to diagnose them in time. The journey with cancer can be a very difficult one, and it's on all of us to work with all levels of government in taking concrete actions so Canadians can get the care they need and deserve.
L'honorable député de Rivière-des-Mille-Îles.
The honourable member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This month, Saint-Eustache's Genealogical and Historical Society is turning 25. Since 1997, this organization has been helping people from Saint-Eustache and de Montagne to trace their ancestors' history, where they were born, when they arrived in Canada, their profession, descendants, and so on. The group offers training on topics like search tools and paleography, which teaches how to read notarized documents from different periods. It also organizes monthly lectures and outings to historical sites. With 200 members and many more before the pandemic, this is one of the most dynamic groups in Quebec. As activist Marcus Garvey eloquently put it, a people without knowledge of its history is like a tree without roots. Mr. Speaker, in our region, we have deep roots, and it is thanks to the Historical Society that we know about them. Happy 25th anniversary. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg North.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, noting that Canada has over 1 million people of Filipino heritage today, and I had the opportunity to recognize a very special relationship between Canada and the Philippines. Last week, I was able to travel to the Philippines, and it was a wonderful trip. With my local MLA, who happens to be my daughter, Mr. Speaker, we had planned numerous meetings related to helping people come to Canada. We met with the local embassy officials on a wide variety of issues, which included aid, trade, and of course, immigration. I appreciated the discussions and the support from the Philippines embassy here in Canada and the Department of Foreign Affairs in the embassy, in particular, former Ambassador Robles. I'd like to especially give a special thank you to Mayor Honey Lacuna. She and her talks were wonderful, and I really appreciated recognizing the 9 Canadians who lost their lives in serving the Pacific Theater during World War II on the grounds of Manila City Hall, where we had a special celebration. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Cumberland Colchester.
Mr. Speaker, get up, the caller calls, get up, and in the dead of night, to win their bairns, their bite and sup, I rise a weary wight. My flannel dudden dawn thrice over, my birds are kissed, and then I with a whistle shut the door, I may not ope again. This is, of course, written by Pitman poet Joseph Skipsky. As the snow has begun in Canada, I thought it appropriate to highlight the blood on the coal tartan. It commemorates the coal miners who lived, worked, and died in the designer's hometown of Spring Hill, Nova Scotia, in my riding of Cumberland Colchester. Coal has been mined in Canada since 1639, and most of all mines in Nova Scotia have been since abandoned. Miners' Day, also known as Davis Day, in honor of William Davis. Davis was killed in a riot in New Waterford, Nova Scotia in 1920 during a confrontation with company police. There was a targeted campaign to break the miners' union. On this tartan, black is for the coal and the darkness of the mine, yellow is for the miner's lamp, red represents the blood of on the coal of the miners' lives lost, and white represents the remembrance of miners' lives. Miners' Day is an occasion to remember and mourn all miners killed in provincial coal mines. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Buena Vista Burin Trinity.
Mr. Speaker, November is National Diabetes Awareness Month, and I want to highlight the amazing work that is being done to help children who are diagnosed and live with type 1 diabetes, in particular by the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation of Canada and their Kids for a Cure advocacy programs. This week, I met with 2 incredible youth in my Ottawa office who have lived with type 1 diabetes for much of their lives, Max and Molly. They both gave fantastic PowerPoint presentations that explained their diagnosis, how it impacts their day-to-day lives, and how they continue to thrive with the resources they have available to them, including how supportive their families and their puppies are in their journeys. Blue is the color to flaunt this November to show your support for kids who live with juvenile diabetes, and also to support their campaign to look forward. The theme for the month is to reflect on the mission to cure, to prevent, and treat type 1 diabetes and its complications. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mississauga Streetsville.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in the House today to honor the life and legacy of Paulina Jocelyn Valisi Corpus, a devoted and tireless Toronto-based community leader and advocate for the Filipino community. Paulina arrived in Canada in 1993 and was a champion for advancing community causes. She co-founded Philippine Advancement through Arts and Culture and worked with many organizations like the Filipino Workers Network and the Canadian Cancer Society. Paulina is best known for her advocacy to have the City of Toronto recognize the month of June as Filipino Heritage Month. Her work and efforts at the city level paved the way for provincial and federal legislation bodies to follow suit. Paulina was an inspiration to all of us, leaving a legacy behind on the community. Paulina was a devoted wife to Ben and loving mother to Belinda, Isabella, and Benson. I extend my deepest condolences to her family, friends, and the entire community. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, this past week, Germany inaugurated its first liquefied natural gas terminal. Germany started construction after the war in Ukraine began on February 24th in order to get off Russian gas. Before Russia's war on Ukraine, Germany had no LNG terminals. It took Germany 194 days to approve and build this new LNG terminal in the North Sea port of Wilhelmshaven. 194 days. And 4 more are on the way shortly. Germany has a stronger set of environmental standards than Canada, and Germany has reduced greenhouse gas emissions more than Canada. Germany is also led by a left-of-center social democratic chancellor, and its Minister of Economic Affairs and Climate Action is a Green Party minister. This government needs to ask itself, how can Germany approve and build a new LNG terminal in 194 days, but it takes a decade or more to approve and build a single LNG terminal in this country?
The Honourable Member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, British Columbia will be welcoming David Eby as our province's next Premier on November 18th. During this time of transition, I want to recognize and say thank you to Premier John Horgan, who has served British Columbia since 2017. Premier Horgan has been an advocate for the environment and an ally to our government on this important issue. Our governments have also found common ground on childcare, with our government providing $3.2 billion to create more childcare spaces to implementing $10 a day childcare in British Columbia. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, our governments have worked together to ensure all British Columbians have access to vaccines. Premier Horgan has done well in advancing relationships with Indigenous peoples based on respect and with the recognition of Indigenous rights. Recently, our governments partnered up by announcing improvements to the Glover Road crossing. This Highway 1 widening project is valued at $345 million, with $96 million coming from the federal government. I want to wish Premier Horgan all the best in his future endeavours, and I want to extend my congratulations to David Eby on becoming BC's next Premier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Barrie Innisfil.
Here's some sobering numbers to show how much Canada has been broken financially by these Liberals. Government debt in Canada has doubled since 2015 to $1.13 trillion in 2022, meaning this Prime Minister has spent more than all previous Prime Ministers combined. The total cost of servicing that debt is roughly $42 billion per year and growing, exceeding the cost of yearly health transfers to the province. Each man, woman, and child in Canada owes $56,000 as their part of the national debt, and it's having an impact. Inflation is at a 40-year high, and affordability anxiety is a major problem. 1.5 million Canadians visited a food bank in September. Half of Canadians are $200 away from not being able to meet their monthly obligations. 30% say that they can't meet their monthly obligations. These Liberals, aided and abetted by the NDP, are causing Canadians to lose their jobs, their hopes, their dreams, and their dignity. It's time to stop wasteful spending, time to eliminate the carbon tax, and time to give Canadians a break, which is what they need the most.
The Honourable Member for Lethbridge.
Canadians who have been shut out by Canada's traditional media gatekeepers are finding their voices on places like TikTok, Spotify, and YouTube. It's amazing. I'm talking about creators like Orby Roy, who is a South Asian mother from Toronto, who shares her skill and her love for skateboarding on TikTok. I'm talking about Vanessa Brousseau, also an Indigenous woman who shares her artistry and her passion as she advocates for missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada. These creators leverage digital platforms in order to share their uniquely Canadian stories with the world. But despite this, the government wants to kill their success and actually silence their voices. Through Bill C-11, the government will pick winners and losers by determining which content gets to be seen and which content has to be hidden. And as for everyday Canadian users, you and me, well, we're out of luck too. Because whatever we post online or see online or hear online will be censored by the government. Hello, state censorship. Goodbye, freedom. So it's time for the government to read their notifications, because if they do, they'll see there's a massive thumbs down.
L'honorable député de Châteauguay.
The Honourable Member for Châteauguay-Lacolle. Mr. Speaker, throughout Canada, community organizations and their volunteers are at the very heart of our community lives. They make our lives better and create a social safety net. Today, I'd like to celebrate the anniversary of two great organizations in my riding of Châteauguay-Lacolle. First of all, 20 years for Les Toits d'Émile, so called in honor of poet Émile Nelligan. It spent 2 decades offering supervised apartments for people with mental illness and organizing activities to reduce their isolation. And secondly, 30 years of the Châteauguay Ornithology Club, which supports biodiversity by protecting natural environments and installing nesting boxes. I'd like to wish all the best to both of these remarkable organizations. All the best in future. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians have the right to know the health risks of what they're consuming, and yet when looking at the bottle, you'd never know that alcohol was a Class 1 carcinogen. Last week, constituents in my riding of Nanaimo Ladysmith gathered to talk about this exact issue. Many were shocked to learn that alcohol is linked to cancers including breast, colon, larynx, and liver, as well as other health impacts like dementia. Despite all this, alcoholic beverages still do not have warning labels. This is a health and safety issue. It should not be left to rich CEOs to decide what information Canadians deserve to have access to. We need a national strategy similar to cannabis and cigarettes to ensure the risks are clearly communicated. This Liberal government needs to take federal leadership today and support the motion that I tabled to implement a national warning label strategy for alcoholic beverages, ensuring all Canadians have the information they need to make informed decisions.
That's right. L'honorable député de Longueuil.
The Honourable Member for Longueuil-Saint-Hubert. Mr. Speaker, in 2020, according to Quebec's second homelessness survey, nearly 600,000 people, or 7% of the Quebec population, have at some point over the course of their lives been in a situation of hidden homelessness. And that doesn't include the 6,000 people who have been counted as being in a visibly homeless situation. I'm just going to interrupt the member for a moment.
If I can have everyone's attention, si je peux avoir votre attention, c'est rendu un peu.
It's gotten quite noisy.
Hardly hear what the honourable member is saying. On peut presque pas.
We can barely hear what the honourable member is saying. I'm going to ask him to start again. That way everyone can enjoy his statement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in 2020, according to Quebec's second homelessness survey, nearly 600,000 people, that's 7% of the Quebec population, have been in a situation of hidden homelessness over the course of their lives. And that's not including the 6,000 people who have been counted as being in a visibly homeless situation. So today, you'll understand that I want to speak about the essential, colossal work done by a critical player in my riding, the South Shore Homelessness Working Table, which will be turning 20 today, November 17th, 2022. Its mission is to bring together all organizations working in the field. It works both upstream and downstream in order to create a continuum of services for people living with homelessness or at risk of becoming homeless, and enables them to live with dignity. Once again, a huge thank you to this organization. Happy 20th anniversary. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Peterborough-Kawartha.
CMHC, the federal government's housing agency, has spent $4.5 billion and committed another $9 billion to tackle homelessness, but has no idea if anyone is benefiting from their work. No idea. No accountability for billions of dollars while more Canadians are living in a tent or a car and inflation is skyrocketing. This is absurd. If any member in this House takes a walk through their downtown, they will see the homeless crisis is getting worse every single day. Lynn, a senior in her mid-60s, is homeless because she can't afford rent in Toronto. She lived in her car for 7 weeks before finding place in a shelter system. Sage lives in a tent. She's 23 years old from Portage-la Prairie and has been homeless for 2 years. These aren't data points on a graph, they're people. The Liberals plan to announce large amounts of funding no one can access with zero accountability is not working. Canada needs leadership, it needs a plan, it needs accountability, and it needs housing.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener-Conestoga.
Last week we honoured our veterans who served proudly to preserve our freedoms. The responsibility of remembrance falls on all of us, and we recognize and appreciate the peace that we have today. Each year, the Royal Canadian Legion holds a literary contest to engage our youth in acts of remembrance. Julia Meterak, a student at John Sweeney Elementary School in Kitchener, submitted a poem entitled Remembrance Day, winning first place. She shared a poem on Kitchener's CBC morning radio show, and I'd like to read the last stanza of her award-winning work. We celebrate Remembrance Day. We honor the vet. Our heads bowed in silence, lest we forget. Congratulations to you, Julia, and thank you for your contributions in guiding our next generation as we continue to remember. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
10 months ago, CSIS informed the Prime Minister of allegations that a foreign government had interfered in our elections with financing, illegal financing. So the Prime Minister should have informed the Chief Electoral Officer so that that could be investigated.
Inform the Commissioner of Canada Elections to instigate an investigation after he became aware almost 10 months ago of allegations of illegal foreign funding.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Monsieur le Président, notre gouvernement.
Mr. Speaker, our government understands that there are dictatorships in the world that are actively trying to undermine democracies. I studied in under an authoritarian communist regime, the Soviet Union, and I have no illusions about the nature of those systems. Our national security agencies are actively monitoring the threat posed by these regimes. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, as the world's wealthy gather for the COP conference, burning massive amounts of jet fuel to get there, what's becoming clear is that this government does not have a climate plan. They have a tax plan. Their plan has failed to reach a single solitary greenhouse gas emissions target, and Canada now ranks 58th out of 64 countries on climate performance. This after they've hit Canadians with high taxes. They plan to triple the tax, tripling down on failure. Will they cancel the carbon tax and come up with a real environmental plan?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians all know that this Conservative leader doesn't have a plan to tackle climate change. And that means that he doesn't have a plan to grow the Canadian economy. The reality today is that our most important trading partners, the U.S., the EU, are all taking serious climate action. These are our allies, and these are our customers. And that is why in the fall economic statement, we invested heavily in the green transition. We're going to continue to do that, Mr. Speaker.
Leader of the Opposition.
These are our allies, and these are our customers, and all of them have better climate change performance than this government has here in Canada. In fact, what they've done here in Canada is raise taxes on people's energy use, energy that they must use. You do need to heat your home if you live in rural Newfoundland, and you do need to use oil to do it because that's all there is. And this winter, it is expected that will, well, it's already up 77% year over year, likely to be up further. Some families will pay as much as $6,000 to heat their homes. Wow. Is the government really going to tell them that they have to pay more for this government's failures on the environment?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Speaker, Canadians understand that putting a price on pollution is the most effective way to fight climate change. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, one of the Canadians who was early to advocate this economically effective approach was none other than Preston Manning. I think it's also worth pointing out that our price on pollution is revenue neutral. All the money goes back to Canadian families. A family in Alberta is getting back more than $1,000. That's true of a family in Saskatchewan as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Revenue neutral. It's not neutral for the taxpayer who will pay thousands of dollars more in the tax than they get back in any rebates, according to the government's own parliamentary budget officer. If the government really wanted to fight greenhouse gas emissions, they'd approve projects that do that. For example, there were 15 LNG projects proposed when this government took office. Not a single one has been built. And the only one that is under construction was approved by the previous Conservative government, and it required subsequent governments exempt it from the carbon tax in order for it to be economical and to speed up its approval by ignoring C-69. Will the government get out of the way and let our projects go ahead to protect the earth?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government bought and will complete the building of the Trans Mountain Pipeline. Our government absolutely understands that LNG is an important transition fuel and plays a valuable role for Canada and the world. And I do want to point out that we understand for projects to work, they have to meet environmental standards, and Indigenous people have to be consulted. That's how we're going to get projects in Canada built, including necessary renewable energy projects, Mr. Speaker.
Yep. Leader of the Opposition.
Well, it's true that they have to meet environmental standards. We had real environmental standards under the previous Conservative government, and in fact, the only way that the LNG Canada project in Western Canada went ahead was by exempting it from the new anti-development C-69. And she's right also that First Nations have to be consulted. One of them is an Indigenous grandmother from the Haisla First Nation who told me that LNG Canada and projects like it mean that her autistic grandchild will have the resources for treatment. That means help for First Nations, paychecks for our people, and clean energy for the world. Why won't they get out of the way and let it happen?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know better than to listen to the economic advice of this Conservative leader. So let me tell you about Robert Breedlove. He's a Bitcoin trader who posted, quote, "Central banking is an institution of slavery. Burn it down." The Conservative leader, after that was posted, the Conservative leader appeared on Mr. Breedlove's YouTube channel and said he found it extremely informative. So, Mr. Speaker, I think the Conservative leader needs to publicly disavow those inflammatory comments and apologize to Canadians for his own records.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the shortfall in the Quebec healthcare system is to the tune of $6 billion. In emergency rooms, the stretchers are piling up. The wait times for surgery are causing anxiety, and it's also causing a national mental health crisis with suicide attempts and so on. Where the help is not to be found abroad. This government claims to be working hand in hand with Quebec, but what justifies the government's arrogance in this regard? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we understand that we all need to invest in our healthcare system. And we all understand that we need to work in close cooperation with the provinces and territories. Last night, I discussed this with my Quebec counterpart, Mr. Eric Girard. The Canada Health transfer to the provinces and territories will be $45.2 billion this year, which is a 4.2% increase. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, it's one thing to talk about what you're giving. Let's talk about what's lacking. The government, in general, began by describing Quebec authorities and healthcare workers as if they weren't very good, as if they were rotten, and as if they were better. All Quebec is asking for, the only thing more Quebec is asking for is money. All the experience in management, in hiring nurses and doctors, all that experience lies in Quebec City. The federal government doesn't have that expertise. Could we get a decent health transfer now? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this year, Quebec received $10.1 billion in health transfers. That's a 4.2% increase. Added to that, $450 million was given to help the province make up for delays in surgery and diagnosis. Canada has been there to support Quebecers and Canadians throughout the pandemic, and we will continue to be there for them. The Honourable Member for New Westminster Burnaby. All across the country, access to pediatric health care is in crisis. Children's hospitals are overcrowded. In Quebec, sick kids have had to be sent 150 kilometers away from home for treatment. In Saskatchewan, a 4-year-old girl with cancer had to wait 20 hours in the ER for treatment, for a bed. 20 hours for a bed in the hospital's pediatric unit. What are the Liberals waiting for before they do something to treat our kids in needs? Are they going to do something, for God's sakes? I'd like to remind... Order. I'd like to remind the member that in the House, we have to use parliamentary language. That includes not using language that gets people worked up, especially religious language that offends many people. So let's continue with the Deputy Prime Minister's answer. Mr. Speaker, we all know that our healthcare system is faced with real challenges, and we are going to keep working to help and support our healthcare system. My colleague, the Health Minister, has been crystal clear. The increase in funding for our healthcare system must lead to improved results for Canadians and for our healthcare workers.
Member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, they are simply not listening. This isn't about one province. This isn't about a second province. This is about all the provinces. And maybe they should be taking offense in some of these responses, because I know the constituents in my riding are. Parents in London are living in fear of their kids getting sick. They know that there is a crisis in London's Children's Hospital, and they face a record influx of patients and high emergency room wait times. London's health officials are warning it's not getting better and are expecting significant pressure for the upcoming weeks. Families and their children cannot afford to wait for this help, and this government can...
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we know Canadians can't wait, and that is why the federal government is there right now. That is why the Canada Health Transfer will provide provinces and territories with $45.2 billion in support. That is an increase of 4.8%. We all know our healthcare system is facing real challenges, and our healthcare workers are facing real challenges. My colleague, the Minister of Health, has been clear. Increasing funding for our healthcare system must result in improved result for the Canadians who depend on it.
The honourable member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
This government's denial to actually address inflation shows how out of touch they really are. As families struggle to pay for gas, food, and home heating, they're also being hit with higher mortgage costs. The Bank of Canada raised interest rates to fight Liberal inflation, and now mortgage interest costs are up 11.4%. This is the largest increase in 30 years. Canadians are out of money, and this government just doesn't care. Will the Liberals end their inflationary spending and cancel their plans to triple taxes on groceries, home heating, and gas?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, inflation in Canada has now fallen or remained flat for 4 months in a row. That is good news for Canadians. Now, we also know that many Canadians are facing real challenges, and that's why we put forward a compassionate and fiscally responsible plan. That is why we're doubling the GST. That is why we are providing $500 to Canadians struggling to pay their rent. That is why we're providing dental care for kids under 12. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
The minister's Mickey Mouse advice to cancel Disney subscriptions to magically save Canadians this winter from freezing won't help anybody. While the out-of-touch finance minister sits in her ivory tower in downtown Toronto lecturing Canadians, more and more people are hit with Liberal inflation and rising taxes. Food inflation is up 11%, gas up 17.8%, and home heating will double. When will she show some compassion, end the inflationary spending, and cancel her plans to triple the carbon tax?
Mr. Speaker, the reckless advice that has been offered to Canadians was offered by this Conservative leader who urged Canadians to use crypto as a way to offset inflation. Anyone who did that would have lost at least 65% of their savings. And Mr. Speaker, I do have to ask the member opposite, does he agree with Robert Breedlove, whose YouTube channel the Conservative leader found extremely informative, and who said, central banking is an institution of slavery? Is that the Conservative position?
Member for Calgary Midnapore.
The cost of living continues to increase for Canadians under this Liberal government. Food is up 10% in October, shelter is up close to 7%, and gas almost 18%. And that's because this government has a problem with inflationary spending. $36.4 billion in this fiscal year alone. So when will this government stop their inflationary spending and cancel their plan to triple the tax on gas, groceries, and home heating?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government's approach is absolutely compassionate. We have provided targeted support to the most vulnerable. But, Mr. Speaker, we have done it in a fiscally responsible way. And, Mr. Speaker, the proof of that comes from Moody's, the ratings agency, which reaffirmed Canada's AAA credit rating just a few hours after I tabled our fall economic statement. Canada is today the third largest AAA-rated economy in the world. We have the lowest deficit in the G7. We have the lowest debt-to-GDP ratio in the G7, Mr. Speaker. That is fiscal responsibility.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Midnapore.
Mr. Speaker, this government needs to rein in all of their reckless spending. The Prime Minister spent $420,000 on a weekend to London in 2021. Global Affairs Canada lost $7,000 in petty cash, if you can believe it. What does this government need to do? They need to stop their inflationary spending and cancel their plan to triple the tax on gas, groceries, and home heating.
The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
The honourable member calls reckless spending, we have used to support Canadians during their time of need. We have helped 9 million Canadians through the pandemic keep food on the table. We have helped millions of Canadians remain on the payroll with the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, and hundreds of thousands of Canadian businesses keep their doors open. Now the Conservatives continue to argue in this House that this spring we should undermine the integrity.
We were doing so well. I'm just going to ask everyone just to, listen to the answer, listen to the questions as well. That's all I'm asking. Not make any comments on it, and if you want to talk to each other, that's okay. But just maybe do it outside in the lobby or somewhere else in the chamber, or whisper. The Honourable Minister for Immigration, maybe from the top so we can all hear the answer.
Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, the Conservatives have a very difficult time with hard truths, and it's that Canadians need support, and it's our government who has been here to support them since 2015, and it is our government who will be here to support them going forward. They call reckless spending supports we extended to keep 9 million Canadian households fed, to keep millions of workers on payroll, and to make sure small businesses could keep their doors open. Now this spring they're arguing in this chamber that we should undermine the integrity of the EI system and the Canada Pension Plan. It's ridiculous, Mr. Speaker, that they pretend to be heroes for the working class. They jeer because they know it's true, and they can't handle the truth in this instance, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, food insecurity means worrying day after day about not being able to pay for groceries. It means a mother or father having to skip a meal in order to feed their child. In an industrialized country like Canada, we shouldn't even be talking about this. But the figures came out yesterday. 16% of Quebecers are experiencing severe food insecurity. The research is clear. The main reasons are inflation and rising food prices. The government has created this inflation. Will they take responsibility and stop their inflationary spending, which is making Canadian families poorer? The Honourable Heritage Minister. Mr. Speaker, we will always be there for families. We understand the challenges and the needs, but it's a bit strange hearing the Conservatives talking about this. Remember when they were in government, all the cuts they made to veterans, culture, EI, and so on. It was across the board. But today, they should tell the truth and tell us, come clean about where they would cut. Would it be EI? Would it be families? Would it be children? Would it be health? Where would they make the cuts? The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Well, one thing is for sure. I don't know where they get their figures when they talk about elevating people out of poverty, because thousands of Quebecers are going to food banks today. A third of them are children. So being a minister comes along, there are responsibilities that come along with that. And mothers shouldn't have to put water in their formula or to thin their breast milk because they can't afford to feed their children. Are they going to do something to help Canadians feed, heat, and house themselves? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about 450,000 children that have been lifted out of poverty on our watch, Mr. Speaker. That's not a number we made up. These are children. They're human beings. They're the future of our country, Mr. Speaker. We have taken concrete steps through government programs, but the Conservatives never had any goal or even any intention of doing anything whatsoever about affordability. I was there for 7 years, Mr. Speaker, on the other side, when they cut one program after another. The Honourable Member for Avignon-La-Métis-Matane-Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, it's embarrassing for Quebecers to be represented by Canada at COP27. On Monday, the Climate Change Performance Index ranked 60 countries according to their GHG emissions, climate policies, and energy use. Do you know where Canada ranks out of 60 countries? 58th. 58th out of 60. Imagine, Canada is even worse than China. Will the Liberals stop kidding themselves and realize that on their watch, Canada's at the bottom of the barrel of the most dangerous countries on the planet? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, and just to point out to the Honourable Member, the report did not take into account some of our most recent actions. But I agree, Mr. Speaker, all of us on this side of the House do. We need to do more. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, we're investing $9.1 billion in our emissions reduction plan. We will be capping oil and gas emissions, Mr. Speaker. We will be eliminating fossil fuel subsidies, and we will be challenging the energy sector to invest in reducing pollution and creating the clean economy of tomorrow, the good jobs of today, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Avignon. Mr. Speaker, who should we listen to? The Liberal Pollyannas or the international experts who have ranked Canada 58th out of 60. Mr. Speaker, these Pollyannas gave the green light to Bay du Nord. These Pollyannas, at this very moment, are letting 5 oil companies excavate the seabed in Newfoundland for even more oil. These Pollyannas own a $21 billion pipeline. They are oil promoters. That's why Canada's 58th out of 60. Don't these Pollyannas think it might be time to stop all this oil development? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, in a carbon-neutral world, we will still need oil for other purposes. We're talking about tires for bikes. We will always need oil for certain things. But when it comes to exploration, the tendering process does not in and of itself create emissions. And it's exploration, not exploitation for the time being. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the World Cup soccer tournament begins Sunday in Qatar, a country whose new stadiums may have cost the lives of 6,500 workers. We'll never know how many exactly because it's a dictatorship that muzzles journalists, that imprisons gay men, and runs roughshod over women's rights. Let's be clear, the athletes have nothing to do with this. They should be there, but diplomatically, Canada has no business being there. Sunday is 3 days from now, and this government still doesn't have a clear position. Will they finally come clean and confirm they won't be sending a diplomatic delegation to Qatar? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. It's a good question. It's a very important issue. I am proud that Canada has qualified for the men's soccer World Cup. We're aware that there are reservations about FIFA 2022 being held in Qatar, and we are focusing on a constructive approach because in a world that's full of divisions, we need to work with our partners. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
St. Albert, Edmonton.
Speaker, last January, the Prime Minister was briefed by CSIS that at least 11 candidates in the 2019 election received hundreds of thousands of dollars directed and funneled through Beijing's Toronto consulate. Given that this violates multiple sections of the Canada Elections Act, upon learning of this illegal activity, did the Prime Minister report it to Elections Canada?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Service.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me be clear. Canada's fair and free election process was never compromised, and this was determined by an independent panel of national security experts. The only one who benefits from foreign interference are enemies of democracy. These attacks are an attack on all members of Parliament, and we can't afford to play partisan games on this issue, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Speaker, hundreds of thousands of dollars were directed and funneled by Beijing to 11 candidates. If that isn't foreign interference, I don't know what is. And talk about a non-answer. I asked a specific question about whether the Prime Minister acted or failed to act. So again, upon being briefed by CSIS, did the Prime Minister report this illegal activity to Elections Canada, yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, protecting Canada's democracy is something that we take very seriously. On this side of the House, on that side of the House, we should all condemn foreign interference because the ones that benefit are not anyone in this House, Mr. Speaker. It's enemies of democracy. They are trying to damage our democratic process here in Canada. We will always stand up for democracy, and I invite all members of this House to stand with us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable.
Pour défendre la démocratie.
I rise to defend democracy, Mr. Speaker, and we should do that on all sides of this House. In January, the Prime Minister was reportedly informed that 11 candidates received illegal funding from a foreign country, and the revelations were clear that these were targeted interventions. We all agree that this is an attack on our democracy, but it's just a simple question, yes or no. Did the government inform the chief electoral officer of these serious allegations, and if so, when? The Honourable Minister of Innovation. I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. And everyone in this House should be standing up to defend democracy. That's what we do every day in answering their questions. But when it comes to national security, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to protecting democracy and protecting our institutions, partisan politics has no role to play. We should all defend Canadian democracy. That's what we're doing here every day, and we will keep doing that.
Port Moody Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, climate change is here. Extreme weather events are more often and more severe, affecting people's access to food, medicine, and putting their lives at risk. And this Liberal government is missing in action. Rural and urban communities are being left to fend for themselves. This needs to change now. Communities need long-term, stable funding for climate-resilient infrastructure that will withstand extreme weather events. Will the Liberals finally invest the needed funding municipalities have been asking for?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the honourable member from BC. And I definitely commiserate a $9 billion impact from the atmospheric rivers. 600 people died, Mr. Speaker, under the heat dome. And Mr. Speaker, we need to build community resiliency. We have invested $4 billion in climate change adaptation to date, and we will be tabling a climate adaptation plan in the coming months. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians want to know when this government will finally return our coastal waters back to wild salmon. Polluting open net fish farms destroy ecosystems and livelihoods, but Liberals and Conservatives keep putting profits before communities. This week, Washington State said no to fish farms. Now the BC Sechelt First Nations said no to fish farms. But Liberals keep saying yes to rich CEOs. Once again, when will the Liberals get fish farms out of the water with a transition for workers?
Yeah. The Honourable Minister for Fisheries and Oceans.
And I want to assure the member that protecting wild salmon and their habitat is my top priority. And this transition, by the way, is already underway. We have already removed fish farms from the Discovery Islands. There are others that the Indigenous communities have asked to have moved and have been moved away. So this transition is underway, and we will have a plan by June 2023 as to how we will proceed further in protecting our very precious wild salmon. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Centre.
Mr. Speaker, as we continue to recover from the pandemic, employers are actively looking to fill many thousands of vacant positions in sectors across the country. In my riding of Richmond Centre, hospitals like the Richmond Hospital are searching for more workers to meet the increasing demand for healthcare services. Could the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship give us an update on how our government could help Richmond Hospital and other hospitals across Canada to get the people they need to better serve Canadians?
Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by thanking the honourable member from Richmond Centre who put together a roundtable with employers in his community when I had the chance to visit him. And they told us very clearly that employers needed access to labour if they were going to meet the needs of their clients and customers. I'm pleased to share with this House, Mr. Speaker, that yesterday a new national occupation classification system is put in place that will allow 16 new occupations to take part in federal immigration streams. They include nurse aides and orderlies, truck drivers and others in the transportation sector, heavy equipment operators, chefs, and many more. We're going to continue to advance measures that bring workers into jobs so we can grow our economy and support communities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Mill Woods.
Whether delivering gravel, groceries, or lumber,
Our Canadian truckers are an essential part of our supply chain and Canadian economy. But because of these Liberals' inflation crisis, the cost of operating those trucks has skyrocketed to the point where some companies are actually having to park their trucks. They're actually losing money by working. And what is the Liberal solution to this supply chain crisis? They're going to triple the carbon tax. How does that even make sense, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know that over the last couple of years, with economic disruptions around the world, our supply chain here at home and around the world have been impacted. Our government is taking action, Mr. Speaker. I've been meeting with truck companies, with truck drivers, helping them find new truck drivers, making sure that they have the support that they need. And I tell you, Mr. Speaker, you know what they were telling me? That those occupiers here in Ottawa and at the borders did not represent the trucking industry, and they were disappointed that the Conservatives were supporting them in their illegal actions.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Mill Woods.
Mr. Speaker, there's something seriously wrong in this country when working more actually makes you lose money. Now, to fight inflation, we need to reduce the cost of transporting goods. But when they triple the carbon tax, that will make everything more expensive to deliver, which will make the goods more expensive. So I'm going to ask again, when will they stop their tax hikes and stop beating up on our truckers?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are out of touch. They're out of touch with what's happening in the global economy. They're out of touch with what is happening here at home. They're out of touch with what's happening with climate change. Our government, however, is focused on helping Canadians, on helping Canadian businesses, on helping truck drivers. We remain focused on doing the right thing to support our economy, to support Canadians during this difficult and challenging time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Carlton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Time and again, Liberals stand in this place and point to other countries as an excuse for the cost of living crisis here in Canada. Future leader of the Liberal Party, Mark Carney, disagrees with them. This is now a made-in-Canada problem. Contrary to what the Prime Minister and his deputy believe, they cannot get out of the mess they've made by borrowing more money. With $170,000 added to the debt every minute counts. When will the Liberals cancel their out-of-control inflationary spending?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government will never apologize for the compassionate support that we are providing to the most vulnerable Canadians. But you know what, Mr. Speaker? We have found a balance between that targeted, compassionate support and fiscal responsibility. And I'm going to give you some data points, Mr. Speaker. Moody's has reaffirmed Canada's AAA credit rating with a stable outlook. That means that Canada is the third largest AAA-rated economy in the world. Let me also remind this House, Mr. Speaker, we have the lowest deficit in the G7 and the lowest debt to GDP ratio.
The Honourable Member for Carlton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Well, here's what that government should be apologizing for, and it's their wasteful spending record. $54 million on the Arrive scam app, $400,000 for the Prime Minister's delegation to London, including a $6,000 a night suite, CERB checks to prisoners in organized crime, a $237 million contract for ventilators to a Liberal insider. And we now know they've paid more than $500 million in damages for their mismanagement of the Phoenix pay system. When will this Liberal government stop their wasteful inflationary spending?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, if you actually tuned into this place over a couple of months, you're going to realize the economic argument the Conservatives have been making is self-defeating. On the one hand, they say people are in need of more help, and at every opportunity, they oppose measures that are going to give more help to people. From the very beginning of my time in office in 2015, they opposed measures that actually deliver cash supports to households. They opposed a tax cut for the middle class. They opposed investments in the Canada Child Benefit. They're now arguing against protecting the Canada Pension Plan and strengthening EI. During the pandemic, they didn't just oppose some of our measures. Their new leader held a press conference to say he would not support big, fat government programs that kept my neighbors fed and a roof over their heads.
The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes, Verchères.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The economic statement confirms that the federal government is threatening to rob the Quebec municipalities of $2.7 billion in infrastructure funding. If they don't submit their projects by 2023 instead of 2025 as was agreed. Today, the Union of Quebec Municipalities is asking the federal government to put the deadline back where it was. Will the federal government listen to Quebec municipalities and reinstate the deadline of 2025 as in the signed agreement?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, our government takes wrong one.
Consensus from the opposition. They want to hear it from the top.
Mr. Speaker, several provinces and territories have successfully allocated the vast majority of their available funding, but some provinces have yet to allocate over 50% of the federal funding earmarked for their jurisdiction. Canadians from coast to coast to coast have benefited from the significant infrastructure investments that our government continues to make. Since 2016, we've invested over 81,000 infrastructure projects. Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy to say that just most recently, we did an investment in the Burnside Transit Centre, Eco Rebuild Centre of $20.8 million in Nova Scotia.
The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Berchères. Mr. Speaker, I think the member across the way got the wrong talking lines because there was a signed agreement in Quebec with the federal government, and that agreement stated that Quebec had until 2025 to submit projects. So we're talking about $2.7 billion that are at stake.
Au député de recommencer sa question. J'ai de la difficulté à l'entendre moi-même, alors j'imagine que la personne qui va la répondre a des problèmes aussi. Alors, s'il vous plaît. Ah, OK, on a des problèmes de traduction. OK, est-ce que vous m'entendez en anglais?
Can you hear me in English on the English channel?
OK, l'honorable.
The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Berchères. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was saying that I would hope that the next time the member across the way will use the proper talking lines. What I was saying is that the Quebec government is shocked. The government across the way decided to breach a signed agreement that said that municipalities had until 2025 to submit their projects. We're talking about $2.7 billion that are at stake. Mr. Speaker, this is quite odd. So now Quebec is going to be severely penalized. Will the government reconsider its position, keep its word, stop its bullying, and finally reinstate the deadline of 2025?
L'honorable.
The Honourable Minister of Heritage. My colleague knows very well that he should be careful when he uses certain terms. We collaborate very well with Quebec on infrastructure. We've delivered the goods for Quebec many times with regard to daycare, with regard to housing, with regard to the high-speed trains. So, Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to work with Quebec and we're going to continue to deliver the goods despite what the Bloc thinks. Even if they won't cooperate, we will.
Member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, under these Liberals, violent crime is up 32%, and the devastating opioid crisis is claiming 21 lives per day. Despite these facts, the out-of-touch Liberals are pushing their soft-on-crime Bill C-5 through the Senate today. This bill puts drug traffickers and serious firearms offenders back on the street to continue to harm Canadians. Will the minister take this opportunity to withdraw his soft-on-crime Bill C-5?
Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, indeed, I think today will be a historic day in which we turn the page on failed conservative so-called tough-on-crime policies that have only served to over-incarcerate Indigenous and Black peoples in our criminal justice system and have clogged up the criminal justice system. Mr. Speaker, we are making changes in order to focus on more serious crime, in order to make sure that serious crimes get serious punishments. Bill C-5 is a first and historic step.
Well, member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, the minister acts like these are victimless crimes. The fact of the matter is that these communities that are being victimized by violent criminals and drug traffickers, they deserve justice. They deserve to feel safe. And the minister ignores the fact that just 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court of Canada upheld the constitutionality and the appropriateness of these very penalties. So in light of this fact, in light of the constitutionality of making sure that violent offenders and drug traffickers serve time in jail and not from the comfort of their own homes, will he withdraw this soft-on-crime bill?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is indeed correct to point out that the return of conditional sentence orders is a critically important part of this bill. It will allow us, Mr. Speaker, not only to focus on serious sentences for people who deserve serious sentences, but allow the flexibility for those people, Mr. Speaker, who do not pose a threat to public security and public order. Those people, Mr. Speaker, can be better served, their victims can be better served, their communities can be better served through other forms of punishment, Mr. Speaker, and that's what C-5 will allow us to do once again.
The honourable member for Charlesbourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the rate of violent crime in Canada in 2015 was 1,070 per capita. And after 7 long years of this Liberal government, this number has risen by 24%. And things are going to get worse with Bill C-5, which was supported by the Liberals, the NTB, and even the Bloc, because it means that illegal firearm imports and armed robbery won't be subject to mandatory minimums. So that means people in vulnerable communities are on their own. Will the minister do the right thing and cancel this bill?
Justice.
The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, this is a historic day for Canada because we're going to finally turn the page on the failed policies of the former Conservative government. Policies that they called tough on crime, but that didn't work and only serve to over-incarcerate and penalize Indigenous peoples and Black people as well. What we're doing, Mr. Speaker, is to focus on serious crimes with serious sentences, and we're going to continue to do that with this historic bill.
For Halifax West.
Alors que le monde...
Delegates are gathering in Tunisia this weekend for the Francophonie Summit, and therefore it is important to reflect on how our government protects French culture and language here in Canada. Since 2015, this government has made historic investments to support official language minority communities, and we are the first government to recognize its obligation to protect and promote French throughout Canada. Can the Minister of Official Languages tell this House how this government continues to ensure the sustainability of French language across Canada? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my friend, the colleague from Halifax, for her work. We have understood that our obligation is to protect and promote French across Canada, including in Quebec, and that's why we've increased support for French language education across the country, and that is also why we tabled Bill C-13. We are ensuring that Francophones in Quebec and other regions with a high Francophone presence can live, work, and be served in French. As a proud Acadian, Mr. Speaker, I am very proud of what this government has done in this regard. Thank you.
Fort McMurray, Cold Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canada is facing a children's medication crisis. Health Canada admitted on Tuesday that they've known about this shortage since April, and yet the Liberals did nothing for months, leaving parents to struggle and kids to suffer. Our shelves are bare despite fully stocked shelves in the US, Australia, and others. Liberals now claim that we will see help within the coming weeks, but the answer is vague. On what date will Canadians feel relief and see these products on Canadian shelves?
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we share the concerns of parents and caregivers across this country whose inability to find infant and children's acetaminophen and ibuprofen has been so difficult. And this has been a really tough cold and flu season for parents and for kids. So I want to acknowledge that first and foremost. Health Canada recently approved the exceptional importation of infant and children's ibuprofen and acetaminophen to supply hospitals, infant hospitals, and pediatric hospitals across Canada. And just recently, this week, we've secured an additional foreign supply of children's acetaminophen that will be for sale for consumers at retail and in community pharmacies in the coming weeks. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good answer. Honourable member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Speaker, Kay is 71 years old. She lives in a seniors lodge, and the lodge just raised their rent because of inflation. Her OAS and GIS are now $100 short of what her monthly rent is. She's moved up several flights of stairs just to save $300 a month, but that deal is going to end soon. She volunteers at the lodge because she gets, as a reward, a glass of cranberry juice, which she needs for nourishment. She orders Meals on Wheels every second day for $6 because that's all she can afford. So when will the Liberals end their inflationary spending and cancel their cruel tax increases so Kay can once again afford to live in the country she helped build?
The Honourable Minister for Seniors.
We recognize the challenges that seniors are facing, and our government has been there for them. Unlike the party opposite, Mr. Speaker, that have opposed every single measure that we have put forward to help seniors. Mr. Speaker, we're delivering for seniors by doubling the GST credit, which will help 11 million people. We're providing rental and dental support. Mr. Speaker, we permanently increased the OAS for seniors, $875. Mr. Speaker, that's $800 for a full pensioner. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we will continue to deliver for seniors.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-Lévis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Liberal inflation is hurting everyone. We learned this morning that the proportion of Quebecers suffering from food insecurity has doubled. It's gone to 15%. But these are people who have jobs, Mr. Speaker, but they can't buy groceries. They have to skip meals, and they must turn to food banks. And, Mr. Speaker, that's happening here in Canada, which is a G7 country. For my colleagues, Conservative colleagues, they've been asking this question for a long time. Will the Liberal government finally cancel its tax hikes? That's the question from the Conservatives. The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Mr. Speaker, there are things that are natural, the things that go without saying. For example, Conservatives and cuts. Conservatives and austerity, Conservatives and lack of compassion. And Conservatives who want to fight poverty, that's a bit rich. It's trying to imagine a Bloc Québécois that, that would believe in non-sovereignty. So we don't believe them.
Over Sunshine Coast, the Sky Country.
Mr. Speaker, the West Coast is home to the country's two largest ports in Vancouver and Prince Rupert that are crucial to keeping our economy strong. And reducing congestion at our ports is central to ensure our supply chains remain resilient. Could the Minister of Transport please inform the House what our government is doing to strengthen our supply chains?
Good question. The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I thank my colleague for his advocacy and his question. Ports are important to keeping our supply chain moving, and I'm happy to share with the House that yesterday I announced nearly $75 million investment to increase capacity and reduce congestion at the port of Prince Rupert. Wow. And this morning, we tabled a new bill titled Strengthening the Port System and Railway Safety in Canada Act. This bill will create a stronger, more competitive supply chain. Our government, Mr. Speaker, is taking action to ease pressure on our supply chain, which is great news for Canadians and Canadian businesses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
Mr. Speaker, several communities in Northwest BC are struggling with increased rates of crime, and sadly, a lot of folks aren't feeling safe in their own communities. Now, we need to see an increased investment in housing, in mental health supports, and in treatment services for those people who are struggling. But local leaders are also calling on this government to ensure that Canada's public safety approach is effective. Now, last month, BC's Attorney General met with this Justice Minister and pressed him for reforms to Canada's bail system. My question to him, will he be introducing those reforms in this place to ensure our communities are safe?
Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for his question. Indeed, as I previously reported in this House, we did discuss, my counterpart in British Columbia and myself did discuss this matter along with other premiers of the provinces and territories at an FPT about a month ago, Mr. Speaker. We have delegated the question, Mr. Speaker, to our deputy ministers and their subcommittee. They will report back to us. Mr. Speaker, we understand how important this issue is, not only in British Columbia, but across Canada. And as always, Mr. Speaker, we're open to good ideas.
The honourable member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, the Minister and all parliamentarians are working hard on the bill to modernize official languages. For years, all advocacy groups for francophones in the country have made two essential requests to the government. First, to centralize all application and execution of the law within the Treasury Board, and secondly, to reinforce the powers of the Official Languages Commissioner. So here's my question to the Minister. Will she implement these two essential conditions that are being called for by all partners? The Honourable Minister of Official Languages. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. The protection and promotion of French is an absolute priority for this government, and that's why we are moving forward with Bill C-13. Mr. Speaker, what's disappointing, though, is that the Bloc Québécois and the Conservative Party are playing political games. At this point, we have this important bill that needs to move forward, and as my colleague has said, this will help everyone, and everyone wants to see this bill passed. But what are we seeing are political games that are being played on the other side of the House. That is unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. That's all the time we have for question period.
Today, I believe the opposition House Leader is getting up on a point of order or as a question. I would have a Thursday question. It just happens to be Thursday.
Not a point of order, Mr. Speaker. The Thursday question where I get to ask the government House Leader as to the business of the House. And I was wondering, given the news that Canada has come in 58th out of 63 countries, falling behind countries like China and Indonesia as it relates to action on reducing global emissions. Since it's clear now that the government's carbon tax is not lowering emissions, will he accept the science and introduce legislation to repeal the carbon tax, or at the very least to freeze the carbon tax and not triple it in the months ahead? And as inflation continues to hit almost 7%, will we see any legislation that will repeal some of the wasteful inflationary spending that is causing so much suffering for Canadians? Can we expect either of those two pieces of legislation in the days ahead?
That's more than a Thursday.